How has this Cyber Monday compared to previous years?
The holiday season is off to a really strong start. If we look for Black Friday, for example, we see that on the digital transactions that we track at Jumpshot, this Black Friday was up 19% versus Black Friday a year ago. Going back a year, that Black Friday was up about 20% over the year before that. So that all adds up to very consistent growth, and we think that's going to add up to today being the biggest Cyber Monday ever.
Dan, in your opinion here, is Amazon the key player who's a clear winner from all of this?
Yeah, I mean, look, it continues to be their world. Everyone else is paying rent from an e-commerce perspective. But look at Walmart and Target in terms of some of those year-over-year numbers. So I think you are starting to see the traditional retailers catch up. But this continues from an investor perspective to really be Amazon, as well as even when you think about some of the products, I think Apple on AirPods and some others that are really what I would call the winners so far from what we've seen.
And Dan, we just came off of a conversation about Amazon and the investments they're making in one-day shipping. Is that cost paying off yet?
Well, I think that's, from an investor perspective, that's really the focus here. I think it's starting to pay off, but that's really going to play out over the next 6-12 months in terms of next day shipping. That continues to be a core advantage for Bezos and the Amazon machine. But you see e-commerce right now, you're starting to see a narrowing in terms of some of the competitors right now. So that last mile, that white glove service continues to be the focus of investors to really close the gap.
Stephen, you've been nodding here. How much has the pressure increased to get the shipping time faster?
Yeah, certainly Amazon has upped the game with the announcement of one-day shipping. And earlier in the year, there was a lot of talk about Amazon didn't want to sell what they were calling the crap products, can't return a profit, those low-price products. And then within a couple of months, they very quickly pivoted and said, you know what, we are going to sell those, and we're going to do those one-day shipping as well. And a lot of it's coming from the competitive pressure that Dan mentioned, that the traditional retailers like Walmart and Target, with services like click and collect or buy online, pick up in store, they've had pretty good years as well.
Both of you have mentioned Walmart and Target, so I want to come and show a chart that I'm showing here inside my terminal, which has been department stores kind of hitting a rough patch. Same-store sales on aggregate falling 1.6%. This is hardly a new trend. Clearly, as people aren't going to the brick-and-mortar stores, it has become an online business. But Dan, as you've mentioned Walmart and Target, what are they doing at the brick-and-mortar that helps them, frankly, to be able to take on the companies like Amazon?
Look, it's really about inventory and around that e-commerce sort of machine. You've seen it come out of Bentonville. And I also think it's some of the talent. I mean, I know many e-commerce players that they've hired at Walmart. So they've stepped up their game. It's about inventory. And as Stephen hit on right now, it's no longer asleep at the wheel. It's a narrowing of the gap. Consumers are smart. It's not just Amazon, but that continues to be in the eyes of the street right now. Who are the winners? And you really got to put a feather in the cap right now for Walmart.
And are Walmart and Target, Stephen, in your opinions, also the clear beneficiaries along with Amazon in this environment?
They are. They're clearly pulling away from the competition. I mean, just as you see in so much of the digital world where you see it's a winner-take-all market, just as you've seen Google and Amazon and Facebook pull away from their relative competition, as we look within specific categories within e-commerce, we see the same things, that the dominant players pulling away, finding niches where they don't really have to compete with each other.
Who, Stephen, in your opinion, have been struggling? Who are some of the losers that are coming from this that haven't been able to keep up?
It's interesting. When we look at companies that have had a big boost from Black Friday, it's not always a positive story. So we've seen big boosts on Black Friday from retailers like Victoria's Secret, Forever 21, GameStop, ones that have struggled in some ways. When we look at our data, we sometimes call it the trifecta, that if they had a big boost around Black Friday, but they also had a big boost in paid search, meaning they had to pay a lot to get that traffic, and they have falling prices, that's a trifecta that's tough to rebound from, and that's what we see with a lot of those struggling retailers.
Dan, how do you incorporate the sense of the omni-channel, where whether it be curbside pickup or a great delivery service, how do you incorporate that into your analysis and creating that full omni-channel experience?
Look, it's all about the cost of getting an incremental customer. And I think if you look at Amazon right now, it's all about Prime, right? I mean, once you're in that sort of ecosystem, as Stephen knows well, you're going to spend incrementally more. But it's around the omni-channel. That's not just what Amazon's focused on, what everyone that's chasing them is focused on. That's why when you look at these early Cyber Monday numbers, they're robust, but it's not just one player that's going to benefit. I think you're seeing across the landscape here.
Dan, you cover Apple, so I would be remiss if I let you go without asking a quick question here. Forecast for the holiday season when it comes to Apple.
Look, I mean, right now, in terms of AirPods, that continues to be tracked, and I think about 65 million in terms of units for 19. But the big thing here is iPhone 11. I think tracking 10 to 15% above expectations. And if that continues, this is a stock that's going to have a 3 in front of it going into early next year.